Now I'm very happy to welcome back a Heisman Trophy voter and founder of the Pick Six Previews, and Mr. Brett Ciancia. You can follow Brett on X at Pick Six Previews. Brett, thanks for coming back on the show. How you feeling now that the majority of your preseason work is complete?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And you're right, it's deadline day. It's deadline week over here at Pick Six Previews. The 2025 edition is now done. It's published. It's being shipped out via email. We have a whole truckload of hard copies going out today, another truckload tomorrow. So really busy time, but it's an exciting time. It's the best time of year. Everyone's undefeated. Everyone's optimistic and excited to break it down with you here.
Absolutely, everyone's optimistic. 0-0. It's not like you can erase the bad memories from last year, but just like me, I'm ready for some football. Just got refreshed from a vacation, ready to hit it hard, and it's time, and it's perfect timing because this Pick Six Previews is coming out, and what a fantastic job he did last year. But for folks that maybe haven't listened to this show last year or don't know what this is, quick brief synopsis of what the Pick Six Previews is for everybody, not just the better.
Yeah, so Pick Six Previews, I launched in 2012, a preview magazine. I had liked what was on the market, but I really wanted to do a deeper dive and really hone in on just the power conferences. So it's a little bit more in depth, a little bit more per team on the page. It's a combination of my written, but also my advanced stats, my analytics, my game grader formula, but putting it back into a readable format for the reader, because sometimes reading too many acronyms or too many formulas can be pretty boring. So really deep positional by positional breakdowns. It's a one-man show. I do all 68 teams. And the claim to fame is that the last 10 years it's been graded number one overall among all the publications. So I always said if they're keeping score, I want to win this thing. And so far, so good. The 10-year title, and looking forward to continuing into 2025.
You definitely want to win this thing. So that's cool. And you can see where other people predict these teams. So that's great. But let's recap now that you kind of segued into that. How did you do last season compared to other years? How accurate were your predictions in the power conferences?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a website out there that tracks all the publication accuracy, all the predictions, Stassen.com, and they do a good job of tracking everybody. But last year, specifically 2024, I placed fourth out of the 20 publications. So fourth out of 20, decent. It was strong enough to defend my 5-year title and the 10-year title. So while fourth isn't a win itself, I was able to defend those titles. So that was great. Number one in both intervals there. In terms of playoff bracket, I had 7 teams, and most magazines had 5, 6, 7. It was kind of even. We all tend to hit on the same teams at the top, all that chalk. And then some of the teams we gambled on a little bit might have missed. Like I had Miami coming out of the ACC, and I still think they were the best team. But hey, you got to finish off a 21-0 lead on Syracuse, so they have no one else to blame but themselves. But so missed there. I missed on Ole Miss. I had them as a playoff pick as well. And again, they're such a strong team. You saw it at the NFL draft. All these guys got picked, and they were a couple field goals away from making the bracket. So you can't do the what-if game. They lost those games, but I really think they were a strong team last year. So that's how we did last year. A couple random teams I hit on and missed on. We talked about some of the playoff misses. I really hit on TCU last year and Tennessee. I had those two teams higher than anybody else. Tennessee, of course, made the bracket. TCU really surged at the end of the year to get it to 8 wins. So teams I missed on, everybody missed on Indiana and Arizona State. They came out of nowhere. Curt Cignetti really turned it around in 1 year, brought in all those transfers from James Madison, and it clicked. They dominated. So we all missed on that one. We all missed on Arizona State as well. Kenny Dillingham, I think they were picked 15th out of 16 over there, and they go on and win the conference outright. So, yeah, some hits and misses, but overall a great year and excited for 2025.
The frustrating thing for me, you mentioned ASU and Indiana, is that I had ASU. I disagreed with somebody that, thought Indiana or ASU is a bad team. And I was like, well, yeah, I kind of like Dillingham, but it's not like I thought they were going to make the playoffs. I'm like, I did eventually bet them to win the division 6 or 7-1, like in mid-season. But I was like, man, I could have got such a great number, before. But, it's like, man, did that guy come out of nowhere? And that schedule was kind of just painted nicely for them to move into that position. It was a situation where, everybody missed on ASU mostly. And I'm sure every publication missed on Indiana. Very few people got that right. So it is what it is. It's like if you're getting 7 teams out of the playoffs, that's pretty dang good. And Ole Miss was power rated still higher than most of those teams anyways that made it. I mean, they were a top
Yep.
at least 5 or 6, if I'm trying to remember, from last year where the power rating was. So I was pretty, I knew Ole Miss was good, but at some point you got to be like, who deserves it and who doesn't. They blew some games they really should not have blown, and that's just how it is. But hey, man, you're a Heisman voter. I have to ask you, who'd you vote for last season?
Yeah, well, last year was a tough race. There were a lot of good candidates. I ended up going with Boise State's Ashton Genty, the running back. You ended up finished second in the Heisman, but I had him number one. I love what he did. I mean, he just took the whole team on his back, the whole offense. He played really well against his Power Four opponents. Almost broke the untouchable Barry Sanders record for decades. We thought that would never be anywhere, approached, but he almost got there. And a lot of it was after contact. You watch his highlight tape; it was like a tank rolling down the field. Really impressive. So I went with him number one. I liked what he did all year. Number two, I went Cam Ward from Miami. I really liked what he did. Just a total game changer. He was able to extend plays out of the pocket, hit every throw on the field. And the reason they lost those 2 games was not the offense. I mean, their defense was the liability. Blew a 21-0 lead against Syracuse, like we mentioned. And that offense was number one. All my metrics, number one. So he deserved a spot there in New York, too. So that's who I went with. Did not go for Travis Hunter. I actually saw him play live. I was out at Nebraska for a game, the Nebraska-Colorado game.
Their worst game. That was Colorado's worst game by far.
I know. So at that point, it's funny. At that point, I thought I saw the end of the prime time experiment, as Coach Prime experiment. They walked off the field. They got crushed, and I thought it was over. But to their credit, they rallied from there. They won 9 games. But no, I didn't go for Travis Hunter. I think I was one of the rare people to not vote for him. It was more a pro Ashton Genty move than anything anti. So that's what I went with.
Well, funny, maybe I was biased when I went to the BYU ASU game because I was like, I want Scattaboo in there. I was like, I want Scattaboo to win. And if you want to look at how valuable a player was to his team, I do agree. Genty, Hunter fit and even Ward fit the bill, but so did Scattaboo. I thought he was a big part of ASU last year, and the way he broke tackles and yards after contact was pretty awesome. So he was my guy. It'd have been nice to see it, but it's like making an argument between those 4 is really tough. The unicorn we have with Hunter is just something you don't see a lot, but it's fun to see, and I really think the best player truly was probably Jeremiah Smith. He was probably the best player. He's probably going to be the best pro.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it like that, so there's all kinds of way to peel that orange on the Heisman. But here we are. We got some Heisman candidates now, and there's a lot of talk, obviously, on Manning and Arch Manning, and we'll see what we have when it comes to that. But what point of the season do you start thinking about Heisman, Brett? Because I think you can't really try to predispose yourself through the preseason rankings and week 1 and week 2. Yeah, I would assume that's a little bit later in the season.
Yeah, and you'll notice in the preview magazine, I don't have any Heisman list in there. I don't have any, top 10, top 20 Heisman. More so because I don't want to anchor myself. I don't want to have an anchor bias in my head of like, oh, this was my preseason pick. Now I'm finding ways to make it work out. You know what I mean? So I don't do any lists. I let the season play out. I want these guys to go earn it and impress throughout the year. I know I don't actually ever publish a list at all. And even November, I don't put any list out. It's really just that final weekend where I compare maybe 10 to 15 candidates, whittle it all down to a final 3. But no, it's in the back of your head all season when you're watching. I mean, if anyone really impresses for a few times in September, it gets onto your radar and you can start to narrow it a little bit as the season goes on. But yeah, this year it's wide open. I know that Arch Manning gets a lot of the praise at the top, but you hit on it, Jeremiah Smith. I mean, he's probably the best player in the country. He's going to be on another playoff team at Ohio State and one of the only returning starters there. So he's going to be, it sounds funny, the veteran of the offense there as a 19-year-old. Look at him. Ryan Williams from Alabama is another phenomenal receiver if you want the receiver guy ballot. But then Cade Klubnik, probably a playoff quarterback at Clemson. You got Nussmeier at LSU. You could make the argument for a ton of people right now. So I don't do any list. I let it all play out, and it's fun to keep an eye on throughout the year.
It really is. And I'm glad you mentioned Ryan Williams because he's like, from a Heisman odds perspective, as this is a betting show, I like the odds on him better if I had to go receiver. But yeah, it's wide open. I think Damon Williams from Washington is going to be someone that we should look at too. And he's got some really, really long shot for him. But man, I like him with Jed Fish over there. So we'll get to that. what inspired you to create this magazine? I know you kind of mentioned it before, but I guess the question is how did you keep going? Tell us a little bit more about your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm based out of Pennsylvania, based out of Philadelphia, about an hour outside the city. And up here, it's all pro sports talk. I can't find any college football. It's all Eagles all the time, which is great in the fall. But I'm a college football guy. I grew up that way. I love the Saturdays in the fall. I'm always did my 4 TV screens the whole day. I'm really into it. So I wanted to, get some coverage out there for, everything I would look for in a team. Like I said at the top, I liked some of the preview magazines when I was younger, but I thought maybe they were a little too high level at times. So I just wanted to design something that I liked. And I launched Pick Six Previews in 2012. And, it's a mesh, like I said, of, watching the game tape, watching spring games, talking to head coaches, talking to coordinators, but really putting some numerical value into it too. I designed my own formulas, my own analytics, and they started predicting winners and predicting seasons. So it just kind of cascaded from there. And what really helped was Twitter, the platform of Twitter, because it helped kind of the cream rise to the top. And if it was good content, if you were putting out good stuff, then it would get shared and retweeted. And we know college football fans and college football bettors, they're very passionate. So if you're putting out a good product, I think it gets, retweeted to the top. So that really helped me as an independent company here. No affiliations with anybody. It's a one-man show. So Twitter and the fan base and all that has been crucial for building this up. So each year it gets bigger and bigger, like I said, and excited for 2025 and continuing to keep growing it. But I would answer your question with just a combination of the passion for college football, but then also a numerical side to it too, and kind of meshing the two.
Absolutely. And when do you start? At what point after the season should I say, do you start to develop your content for the next season?
Well, actually, I'll cheat and say during the season before, because like I said, on Saturdays, I have those 4 screens going for 12 hours. From noon kickoff all the way till 2 a.m. on the West Coast. I used to be one of those Pac-12 networks guys watching at 2 a.m. over here. So it's really during the season. That's where I get a lot of my insights on these teams. I'm watching them all the time. But then formally, really when the confetti falls on the national title stage, when that national title wraps up, then we're on to 2025, or I guess the next season, where I start to do my graphics, my stats. All the data is in from the year prior, so I can do all that. And then in February, March, it shifts over to spring practice, spring ball. You're looking for practice reports, any spring games. They're trying to take the spring games away from us, unfortunately, but I still use that if I can. Transfer portal has been big now. In fact, it's almost a barrier of entry to the preview industry because it's just so overwhelming that if you're going to do a preview magazine, you have to go all in. So you can't really hide away from the transfer portal. You got to dig in everywhere. So that's what March, April, May, all that is looking at these transfers. Where are they coming from? Why'd they leave? Is it a step up? Is it are teams replacing their talent? So a lot goes into it. And then obviously the writing. I mean, it's a one-man show. I'm doing all 68 teams, writing, editing, designing. So it really ends up being a full year project. But really from January to July, I would say is really for the magazine.
And there you go. January through July is probably the busiest time for you when you're talking to coaches and stuff. But that's a great answer. And don't get me wrong, I was as a degenerate, I was watching the Pac-12 after dark too with a bottle of suds and trying to clear out my last game play. So yeah, man, I'm in that maybe for the different reasons, but I'm also a big fan too. It's there's a lot of reasons, but we love football, and that's the most important thing. But the Pick Six preview, we love what you put out. What's new for 2025?
Yeah, well, thanks. Well, not much has changed within the preview magazine itself. That's kind of the same formula, the same tried and true product. What I am adding this year, though, is an in-season product. Everybody loves the preview magazine, but once the season kicks off in September, you kind of put the preview magazine aside. But now I want something that it's called Pick Six Plus. It emails to you every Tuesday morning, and it refreshes each week. So you get all the stats and all the information that you love from my magazine, but now refreshed every week. Because I know, and I know, once the season starts, it's like you're drinking from a fire hose. You got 70 games in action. You're trying to pick all the stats out of everywhere. But here it is combined into one page per team. And in terms of what's in it, we have everything. We have all my advanced stats. I have more of an against the spread ATS and Vegas style game log. So you can see all of that. Situational splits. People like to see how's a team coming off a bye. How's a team as a home underdog, stuff like that. Every single situational split, I have that in there. Even talent grids too. I mean, so say you have Ohio State versus Notre Dame. Who has the more 5-star talent? Who has the more 4 stars? Who has the most mock NFL draft picks on the roster currently? best transfers. So all of that head to head. What else? I could keep going, but a recent series history. So Ohio State, Notre Dame, how were they the last 10 times they played? Straight up against the spread? Where were the games at? So really just the most comprehensive look, but really just on one page too, because I hate having to scramble around over the internet looking for bits and pieces all over the place. Here it is on one page per team. Pick Six Plus. I encourage you, go check it out. We have a sample on there. So yeah, that's what's new this year.
I see your sample. It looks great. A lot of great sports betting information that you might want if you're an analytical guy and use stats to really create your handicap. I think people should do stats and creative and obviously trends to create a handicap. And stats is one of the most important things, especially when you get the numbers on them. And prediction, you're looking at what happened last season and consistency and all the information that you put out. So this really looks like a great product here. Emailed to you, and I like how you have the numbers nice and big because getting older, man, it's harder to see. So that's I can see them quite easily. I'm glad you made them big and very detailed and very easy to read too, because you use the color coding with the reds, the pinks, the light greens, and the greens, man. So that's a fantastic job there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was going to talk about the color coding too, because at first glance, you might not know what all the metrics mean. I have explainers in there, and in the first edition, we'll explain every single stat in there, just so you get the hang of it. Once you get the hang of it, you'll understand them. If you read the preview magazine, it's the same stats that are in there, but the color coding definitely helps. So you're going through, you'll see that the green obviously is good. And when I pair up the two opponents against each other, you'll see Ohio State's offense versus Notre Dame's defense, where who's winning that matchup, color coded wise. And then those situational splits too. I mean, like I said, 17 different categories coming off a bye, as the home dog, as the road favorite, all those, every split you like, but then it shows you which ones are active each week. So you can really speed through and see, all right, these two situations are active this week. How are they? Are they in the green or the red and all that? So yeah, thanks for the praise there. Go check it out, pick6previews.com. And also if you order before August 1st, we do have two bonus editions coming in. We have what I call advanced rosters, which I break down the whole two deep of a team, the recruiting ranking, were they transfers, where were they coming from, are they returning starters, are they all conference guys? So I call that an advanced roster. We have that coming out in August. And then the best bets win totals. And we're going to break some of those down later in the show, but a comprehensive article there showing the best win totals for the season. So that's if you order before August 1st. So get in there and check it out.
Yeah, I love some of the stuff you put out, man. I was just looking through the 2025 version, and I love how you have the 5-year averages of recruiting. I think that's so important because, people, who cares if they had a great recruiting year this year and the other 3 sucked? It's like freshmen, unless you're Jeremiah Smith or a great talent, usually don't start anyway. It's like, I want to know what the average is. And it's funny when you look at that, you see some stuff that, you didn't expect. I cannot believe how bad Kansas is. I thought after getting Leopold, they would have moved up from 68th place, right? and you got Kansas sitting there at the bottom. And there's some other surprises too. There's some teams that should be better than they are, that have been recruiting well. A&M is one of those, right? I mean, they've been an absolute disappointment over the years. But it's really cool that you see that you have that information here. And, I see my Badgers at 28th, 29th. I wish that somebody would kick them in the ass a little bit for me, but there you have it.
Yeah, for sure.
So the next question I have is probably, how do sports bettors use this information? What can I do as a sports bettor to improve my game by looking at the Pick 6 previews?
Yeah, well, I think what might stand out for mine and some of the other magazines out there, it is a really deep dive, position by position. And I talk about, if they're new players, if they're transfers, I say, what do they do at the last stop? Why do they transfer? Are they going to start? Because sometimes you read some previews and it just says, all right, at receiver, these 3 guys transferred in from these schools. Okay, I have no idea. What does that mean? Were they starters at the previous school? Were they all conference at a G5 level? Were they an FCS All-American? Were they backups? So you really get to dig in player by player. I think I do that, but I think I make it enjoyable too. It might be too boring to just read acronyms or just advanced numbers the whole time. So you'll find on my pages there's no acronyms. It's all written narrative, but well researched too. So I think it helps bettors because you can start to understand where teams are at, the schemes they're running, the personnel they have in the door, and actually the context behind the personnel, behind the transfers, behind the new recruits coming in. So I think it starts to help you set your expectation of talent levels, maybe your own power ratings in your head. You can use this as a guide to kind of counterbalance with. That's in the preview book. In terms of the in-season product Pick Six Plus, that'll be for game picks. But from the magazine, I think setting your expectation for these teams, adding in, like you said, with the recruiting, there it is on the screen. But on the team pages, if you want to scroll down to just a random team, we can show them that, that's actually perfect right there with Texas Tech. Because we have the 5-year recruiting trend, but then also the transfer trend, because it's important, not just from the recruiting trail, but how the teams are doing from the transfer portal as well. I also add in there a column for mock NFL draft picks too, so you can see a quick look at who's got the pros. And this year, you look at Alabama and Penn State; they are stockpiled with future NFLers because of recruiting, but because also a lot of those guys elected to come back for 2025. They could have gone pro, a lot of them, and they're back. So yeah, I think this preview magazine helps just get some context on these teams, set your expectations for the season, look position by position, and really an enjoyable read. That's how I would sum it up.
Very enjoyable read, and you have an all transfer team here too. Obviously Carson Beck, number one quarterback, going from Georgia to Miami, and Miller Moss from USC to Louisville. And that's interesting, the all transfer team, and just kind of how you break things down. I like how you have, Clemson like listed, you have number one in the ACC, because you start with the ACC number 6 overall. So, you have your power ratings essentially, without a number necessarily assigned to them, listed right there. And I find it ironic. Well, we talked about Penn State last year, Brett, and I think you have them at their. I know you live in Pennsylvania. I think you have them at the number one team, don't you?
I do. And yes, I'm based out of Pennsylvania. I did not go there. I'm not a Penn Stater. I'm a Boston College alum, which unfortunately means we're irrelevant in football. But as for Penn State, yeah, I think this is their window of opportunity. And when you talk to Penn State fans, they're very focused on the Ohio State problem. They've had several years now. They've come close, but couldn't knock off Ohio State. I think this is the year to catch them, because Penn State's very veteran. They have their 5-star quarterback, Drew Aller. I know he had a bad game against Notre Dame, but he still has a first-round draft grade, and he played pretty well last year. 5-star running backs behind him. The offensive line has 4 all-conference guys coming back. The defense is elite every year. But really, the kicker for me with Penn State is not only their how veteran they are, but the coordinators. I think the brain power in that room is incredible, with Kotelnicki on offense, and Jim Knowles, the guy who just built Ohio State's NFL machine, is now taking over on defense. So I love their coordinators. I love their talent. And you're catching Ohio State in a transitional period too. Same with Oregon, where they're extremely young, very talented, but very young. So I think when Penn State catches Oregon in that whiteout game in early September, they're going to get a W there and catch a young Oregon team. Yeah. So yeah, they're my pick to win the conference this year. If not now, it's never for James Franklin and this team, because this team's built for a championship right now in 2025.
Well, they better win at Ohio State, because that's the big problem. Ohio State can lose to Texas and still win the conference. They have an interesting schedule. I don't think it's hard. I think that Wisconsin game's a little weird for them. They still should blow out Wisconsin, but then they get the bye and then they get Penn State. So that's really tough. And I'm not seeing a lot of losses, minus at Michigan's going to say maybe if Ohio State's going to win the conference or not. But I see you're nice to the SEC. You decided to put Texas at number 2 overall and Ohio State number 3. Very kind of you to do that. I'm a Big Ten guy myself. The funny thing is I actually have Ohio State number 1, just because they did win it last year. And until I'm proven wrong here about Drew Aller, it is what it is. Not that I don't have Penn State in my top 4, because I do. But it wouldn't shock me if Aller takes a step forward and gets that confidence he needs in the bigger games. And same with James Franklin. So, I don't have no disagreement, really hard disagreement on your top ones as well. But I do love how you have the 5-year win trend, because there's consistency to that, isn't there? If you're like had that fluke season and you're Indiana, is that going to put you number 2 in the Big Ten, number 3 in the Big Ten? I like how you kind of stick to your guns. And, I know you have them high, but you have USC higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then also on the page there, you have some coordinator grades. I know readers like to check that out. I've got a 10-year box there at the bottom of the page there, and it shows how each coordinator has done, offense, defense-wise. My numbers are opponent adjusted as well, so you could really see within the context of their schedule. But yeah, hey, I would not be surprised with Ohio State or Oregon for that matter, because we live in a new system now, this 12-team playoff, where in the past, if Oregon or Ohio State, a young team, if they go 10-2, they're going to the Citrus Bowl. It's over. But now you go 10-2, you're in that playoff bracket, right? And as a young team, you're growing up as the season goes on. You get those 15 bowl practices for the first playoff game. And now in January, this is almost a veteran team themselves. They're 15 games in, 14 games in, and it's some of the most talented rosters out there. So it's just a different formula now in that sense, where Ohio State and Oregon, yeah, they might be 10-2. They could win the whole thing. And with Oregon, actually, I put this in the book there in the outlook for Oregon. They're my pick to win the national title, but in 2026, I think next year they are the team to beat. So much five-star power that Oregon is stockpiling up there. It's just super young this year, but next year, look for them.
All right. Well, there you go. Next year already thinking about 2026. I love it, man. No, great stuff. Obviously check that out. And I suppose I should ask, where could our listeners get your pick six previews?
Yeah, so we're only available there on pick6previews.com. And on there, we have the digital version and the hard copy edition, the magazine. I actually have the first proof right here of 2025. We have, like I said, a truckload of them going out. It's crazy shipping them out, but if you get your orders in, they're going out within a day or two. And the good thing is, if you buy the hard copy, we also email you over the digital immediately. So for those couple of days where it's with USPS and transit, you have the digital copy right there. But people love the hard copy, bring it to the beach, bring it to the lake, have it on the couches with you on Saturdays in the fall. So I think there's still, some good value with a hard copy preview magazine. Mark it all up all season. So, but only at pick6previews.com to get it.
Yeah, I love the binder and everything. It's just so easy, and the paper is really high quality too. It's not like that magazine grade that rips. So, I mean, that's my biggest
funny
problem.
it's funny with the spiral bound too. Yeah, because the first year I did it, they messed up and gave me spiral bound. I was upset about it, but actually I like it. You can leave it open on the table. Yeah, leave it open to a certain team. That way it's not always clasping on you. So I actually like the spiral. We're staying with it.
It's way better. It is really way better, and it doesn't bend like magazines do or pages. It just stays together amazingly. And so, I mean, that it takes a beating, which is really cool. But speaking about taking a beating, let's talk a little bit about these conferences, man. It's kind of weird because we only have a Power 4 conference. I don't know if you gave much thought for the Pac-12 next year to be a Power 4. I wouldn't call them a Power 4 next year, but real quick, did you think about that? And then after that, we can get into overrated, underrated.
Yeah, so it's a shame what happened to the Pac-12. I mean, we spoke earlier. I love the Pac-12 network. I love watching those games. It was a very cool conference to me because you had so many different regions, so many different styles of play, old rivalries, new rivalries. So I was pretty upset when that went away. I love the regionality of our sport, and just going so national now, it's ruining it. But so anyway, with the Pac-12 gone, I did include Oregon State and Washington State last year as that new Pac-2. But I noticed as the season was going on, they're playing teams I don't cover. Like, I don't really watch the Mountain West, to be quite honest with you. So I didn't feel like I would do it justice. So I did not include them this year in the 2025 edition. But looking forward to 2026, I'll consider. It looks like they made some additions to the conference. It's looking like an actual league now, not just a Pac-2. So I'll keep an eye on it for sure. If there's a desire for it, I'll add it back in. But for now, it's just the 68 Power 4 teams.
Well, they're all state at the end of them for some reason. There's all they're for some reason they're all state colleges, which is I found really interesting, and Oregon State, Washington State, of course, started it all, and the only ones left, and then everybody else they're bringing in, including Boise State, or not. Well, yeah, I think no Boise State. Yeah, isn't Boise State going in there?
I believe so.
I know that. Go ahead.
You can tell it's off my radar. I haven't even checked the conference realignment for 2026 with them, but I think maybe San Diego State, Texas State just signed on. But Texas like I said, State. These are not teams I cover, so it might be tough to pull it off for 2026. We'll see about it, but for now, doubtful.
Yeah, it's very doubtful. I think that it's weird that a small school like Texas State's there's too many small ones going into it for me to take them higher than a Mountain West right now. But I think, like you said, let's keep an eye on it and make a decision later. Let's get into overrated, underrated. Give me a team that's overrated or underrated, starting with the ACC.
ACC. I'm actually going to go with Florida State here for underrated, meaning I'll take the over on the wins. I saw their number was 6.5. And I know they play Alabama and Florida in the non-conference, and those look like probable losses. Miami and Clemson also probable losses. There's 4 losses already. But from there, to me, the bottom of the ACC, it really drops off. I mean, you look at these other conferences, the Big Ten has a lot of talent. The SEC stockpiled with talent. Even the Big 12 has a big middle tier, but the ACC, it really drops off to me. So I think Florida State, despite all the roster changes, I like their 2 coordinator hires with Gus Malzahn on offense and then Tony White from Nebraska taking over the defense. I think on coaching and on just the raw talent alone, that gets you 7 wins. So at 6.5, I like the over with Florida State.
It's funny. I knew you'd say that because I was looking at your previews and you had that Florida State seemed to be higher than some other folks. History-wise, I totally agree. And Mike Norvell, man, it's time. It sucks missing that last 4 year of the 4-year playoff because of the quarterback issue. And you can talk about Georgia a little bit last year about that. But, either way, here it is. And they are definitely a team that they have to do something or else Norvell is either on the hot seat or completely out. So I do like that one. What about the Big Ten? Any overrated, underrated in this conference?
Yeah, so I like USC here. And I think that if you look at other publications or just from the national media, there's this fascination with Illinois. I respect what they did last year. They won 10 games. They return all these starters, but that doesn't always correlate to wins. And in fact, when you look at my advanced stats, I had them 35th last year. Even though they were 10-3, they checked in at 35th, nowhere near the top 25, let alone a top 10. So I'm selling Illinois. And meanwhile, hey, you got to pick somebody for 4th. I'm buying USC. You look at them last year, they were 7-5. I think 5 one-score losses, though, which I know you can't rewrite history, but forward-looking, those were more competitive than the record would show. I like having a second-year bonus at quarterback with Maeva, second-year bonus at coordinator with Danton Lynn. I think they're one of the top spenders this cycle, too. You see these stats put out about who is spending money on transfers and recruiting. They're at the top of the list again. So they're number 7.5. I think they open 5-0. And the reason I brought Illinois into this is because that is a swing game for them. They're going to start 4-0. 5th game is at Illinois. I think USC goes in there, gets that win, gets them to 5-0. And then from there, they're going to clear that 7.5 bar. So I'll take USC from the Big Ten.
I don't disagree. They have the highest ceiling. I do think they have a massively high ceiling. I think their floor is a little bit low, but we'll just see what happens. I kind of like Washington, as I outed myself before, because I think Williams and Jed Fish is going to be great together. This season. They do get their big games at home with Ohio State and I think Michigan. I think they avoid Penn State. So I think that's going to be really interesting with them. And you have Washington pretty high in itself.
I love Washington. I think it's a great pick that you have there. 2nd-year bonus from Fish. I mean, we saw what he did at Arizona with no talent at all. I shouldn't say no talent because the best players he had there actually followed him to Washington. You got Jonah Coleman at running back, a couple of defenders transferred up, Manu at linebacker, I think an all-conference D-back, Takario Davis. So he's done a nice job building it there. They're a lot deeper on the lines this year than last year. They were so thin at offensive line last year, but good receivers. It's a good quality team right here. So they're being overlooked. I agree with you on that. And Williams really separated himself, became the number 1 quarterback late in the year. He's a dual threat guy. He's electric to watch. So I like you there with Washington.
Yeah. Nice. I took over their win total at 7.5, I believe. It's funny. Strength of schedule. Do you, and I have to relook, but do you do a big thing on strength of schedule? Because everyone's talking about Wisconsin strength of schedule. Obviously, I'm a Wisconsin fan. It's brutal this year.
Yeah, it is brutal. I don't include anything in the book like a rankings wise with strength of schedule, but it is crucial to the predictions when you're trying to predict the order of finish within a league. It used to be pretty standardized. You're all kind of playing the same teams, but now it's so scattered because you have these mega leagues and only in some cases 8 or 9 conference games. What I do, it's a little old fashioned. I do a big grid on paper. I write every single team, who they're playing, and just visually you can see where it shakes out. And with Wisconsin, you're right. Actually, I'm looking at my grid right here. It's brutal. It's 7 of the top 9 teams in the league. So they face 7 of the top 9 and only 2 of the bottom 9. So that's brutal right there. Meanwhile, other teams, it's flipped. That's how you have Indiana last year. They missed everybody somehow. The schedule luck is huge now with these mega conferences. I think Wisconsin and Iowa, looking at it here, are the 2 hardest Big Ten schedules. Wisconsin has to be the hardest. Plus, you play Alabama. So that's just That's unfortunate because I think they're going to make some gains there in third year under Fickle. But it's so brutal with the schedule.
It's terrible, man. It's terrible. But hey, low expectations can create happiness. That's the
There
thing.
you go. Yep, there you go.
We can just get 6 wins and get to the bowl game. I'll be fine with that schedule. Big 12. Big 12. Who is overrated, underrated?
Yeah, Big 12 is, I've been doing Pick Six previews now for 14 seasons. This might be the most wide open conference I've ever covered. And, a couple of things here. I talked to one of the Big 12 coaches. I'll keep him nameless. I asked him, who are the top teams you're looking at in scouting and all that. And he says, really, there's no top tier in this conference. There's like 10 teams that could win it. It's like a very upper, above average league. And I think that's proven because in the Big 12 media days, they had their coaches poll. And I think the coaches picked Iowa State and Kansas State. Those two aren't even in my top 5. I have them 6th and 7th in the league. It's so deep. You could pick, like I said, 10 winners. I actually went with Arizona State, maybe a little bit of chalk, but they were pretty good statistically last year. They bring back 20 starters. They lose a big one with Scatabo, but everyone else is back. I like that past performance as an indicator because advanced stats wise, they were solid. It wasn't an Illinois situation. I think they were really good last year. So I like them. Texas Tech's the wild card based off what they did in the portal. They went out and I'm sure everyone has seen this, but they spent all their oil money on it and they signed 13 4-stars. That's more than the rest of the conference combined. So they really brought in a lot of talent. It's whether they could get it to gel. But then real quick for my pick, I'll go with TCU as the over. I see their number 6.5, and I went through the schedule. I see seven wins for sure with 5 toss-ups. So, I really like the 6.5 bar. I love Josh Hoover at quarterback. The receivers are strong. And when you're looking at recruiting too, we're so used to thinking Oklahoma, Texas in the Big 12. You take them out of the Big 12 now because they're in the SEC. TCU is your top recruiter from the high school ranks for the last 5 years. So they have the they have the backbone of talent there on their roster, and I think it's coming to fruition. So I'll go TCU over 6.5.
I don't disagree. A great coach there, and like you said, it's the most up in the air conference, and it was last year for me too. And I thought a lot of teams could win it, and then ASU kind of snuck in there in the middle of the season where I started noticing them a lot more. I'm going with Baylor. Spavital there has just been fantastic. I think that they're being overlooked. Sawyer Robinson really took over, and they should have won against Colorado if it wasn't for that Hail Mary. Maybe they would have been in the playoffs. I think last year they were the best team in the Pac-12 that just didn't make it. Can make arguments for Kansas State and BYU as well, and a few others. Utah's going to take a step forward, but Baylor's my pick for the old Pac-12 or for the Big 12.
Yeah, if you like returning starters, again, kind of like Arizona State, look at Baylor. Everyone's back. And that's a team that really grew up after the halfway point. They had a quarterback problem in September. Once they settled in on Robertson, he was really strong offense, and everyone's back. The thing that I worry about with the over-under total, though, is they do draw Auburn and SMU in the non-conference. So maybe a better play is looking at them on, I think they're like plus 600 or plus 700 to win the league outright. Maybe go for something like that with Baylor because the win total, you're bringing in some tough non-cons that are like coin flip games for me. So, but I like Baylor. I have them 3rd in the Big 12.
Third option is just to take their conference win total over, and then you don't have to worry about that. So that's an option. And, the people are doing that with teams like Wisconsin, who's playing Alabama. And, that's another way to look at it. And you got to get those early because those have already been hit pretty hard. But yeah, like you said, I think they win the conference, and you can take the plus 600, 700. It was at a better number earlier in the season, but that's why we jump on this stuff early. SEC. This one, it was funny. You talk about up in the air. I feel like the SEC is more up in the air than it's ever been.
Yeah. Thinking back to the last 10, 15 years, you've had the Saban dynasty at the top, and it was like, who's going to ever challenge that? Georgia did for a little bit, but now they looked human last year. So, yeah, I think you have a wide open conference. Wide open in the sense maybe 3-4 teams could win it because you have these super recruiters. You have these Texas, Bama, Georgia. I call them the dynasty tier just because they bring in 5 stars at every position. And Texas has been close. They haven't won a national title in 20 years, but in the last 2 Final Fours. And they just signed the #1 overall class. So, that's 3 great competitors in terms of value because those 3 teams, they all have 9.5 as their over-under for wins. So out of that, I like Alabama to get there. One thing I noticed about them is second-year bonus under Kalen DeBoer. He brought back Ryan Grubb, who was the offensive mastermind behind that Washington team, and they'd worked together over the years. He went to Seattle Seahawks last year. He's back in college now, and I think that's a great addition, going to fix their passing game. But what I noticed with Alabama was you watch the NFL draft, normally you see 10, 12 Alabama guys get called, only 5 this year. And you wonder why. It's that they're all coming back, at least on defense, all coming back to Tuscaloosa. So extremely veteran, or a rare amount of veterans there on their defense than you would expect out of Alabama. So I like that. I like their talent everywhere at this on this roster. So at 9.5, when you look at their schedule, at Georgia, going to be tough. Georgia has the current longest streak of home wins at 30. It's going to be tough to go in there. But even with that as a potential loss, LSU, Oklahoma, South Carolina, I think they get 2 out of those 3. That puts you at 10-2 right there over the 9.5. So I think they're going to make some big gains this year.
Yeah, I agree. But I like Bama too. But if I have to dig a little bit, I think Florida could make with Lagway. I think that they went through a gauntlet of a schedule, the hardest schedule last year, and they kind of got through with going to a bowl game, and which was, I thought, crazy that Napier was able to pull that off. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch Pavia at Vanderbilt, talking all the smack that he does, and see if he can back it up with that team, because now they're going to have a target on their back. They're not just sneaking in being the overlooked team. Now they're going to be pissed. And you got South Carolina there as well, coming in, returning their quarterback. They did lose a lot of defense to the draft, but they recruited pretty well over the past few years, and Beamer there. And I think that South Carolina is going to be interesting, and that offense there with Sellers, and that could be a massive sneaky play right there too. And it's funny, you even have them ranked 11th, but they're still a very solid team, right? It's hard.
It shows you how deep this conference is. And when I go together and do the top 25 and the top 40 board that you see on the cover of the magazine, 10 teams in the top 20 from the SEC. And I'm no SEC homer. Like I said, I'm based in Pennsylvania. I call it how it is. It's just so much talent on these rosters that, you have to dig down to 11th in the conference to get to South Carolina, who some are calling for a playoff bid. Really deep league. You see it on the recruiting trail, the transfer portal, and on NFL draft day. I mean, it's the best players. Now, maybe the upper echelon, the Big Ten might be catching up with some of these superpowers, but I think top to bottom, this is still the conference. And you can argue so many. I think Auburn makes a big step this year. Ole Miss is always a transfer portal lottery. We'll see if they could hit again. A&M I had written down here. If you asked me for a second one, I might have gone A&M over 7.5. But you always worry about them because they have this expectation every year. I do think it might be different this time. I know I sound crazy. It's different this time. But it's different this time, I think, with Mike Elko. He's a great head coach. He's going to have them focused. The defense will take another step, and a pretty old team. So I think I'll go with them over 7.5. But, deepest conference, best conference this year.
And finally, with the independents, Notre Dame, I see you have them number 8 in the nation. Anything to say about them, Oregon State or Washington State, or probably not UConn, I'm guessing, but we'll go with those.
Yeah. I think with Notre Dame, they've made their playoff runs in the past, but when you look the year after, they go through cycles. They might graduate a ton of seniors, and then they have their rebuild, and it's kind of cycles every few years. I think that is over with now. I think the way that Marcus Freeman has recruited, he's elevated their profile. We were just talking 5-year recruiting rankings earlier, and I was shocked when I saw Notre Dame there at number 6. And they're bringing in 5 stars everywhere. So I think you're going to see them stay in the playoff bracket. Now, their math for the playoff is a little bit more direct than other teams because they don't have the conference title game, win or loss. It's really, if they go 11-1, they're a lock. 10-2 is a little bit questionable, but probably still in. So when you look at their schedule, I see 3 tough ones. It's A&M, it's Miami, and USC. So can they go 1-2 out of those? I think so. Definitely could go 2-1 and lock it up there. So just to say that it's a really talented team again, top offensive line in the country, probably. Defense is strong again, great secondary. There's a lot to like. Even with the quarterback change, I think they're back in the playoff bracket.
It's almost unfair that they have this schedule, even though there's 3 tough games in there, because the rest of the teams have a lot of tough games. And, maybe you can say that against Penn State too, or Oregon and Ohio State, but it's funny. It's just like you got kind of those mid-meddling Miami, Texas A&M. It's not like you're playing Bama and Georgia, and then the rest of it's literally the ACC, which is, I'm not saying they're close to Group of 5, but they're definitely closer to Group of 5 than they are to Power 4. So it's kind of that.
Especially, they're hitting those bottom tier teams too. You're hitting Stanford. It could be the worst team in the country. Syracuse is set for a big step back this year. BC, as a BC alumni, come on now. What else? Yeah, Arkansas is Yeah, Arkansas is one of the lower ranked teams in the SEC. So some of it isn't their fault. I mean, some years you think Arkansas might be top 25. It just so happens they're hitting them here in a down year. So yeah, it's definitely manageable though. I mean, we're talking Miami, USC, and A&M. Those are the three. Boise State's actually on there. That's a unique one. Could be a potential rematch in the playoff bracket once we get there. So yeah, I think it's very manageable for them this year.
At Pittsburgh's a little bit tricky, but it's just because of where it's in the spot. So I just think that Notre Dame should make it. Well, if they beat Miami, they should make it. They should be.
Yeah.
You bet them to make the playoffs if they win their first game is probably the way to go. But another thing you can bet on is this magazine, man. It is fantastic. I love it. Can you tell our listeners and viewers where they can get that great information?
Yeah, thanks a ton. Thanks for the big praise there and for showing on the screen there live. That was pretty cool. I have samples up there on pick6previews.com. That's all spelled out. If you're on Twitter, I encourage you to go follow us there at Pick6Previews. Again, all spelled out. And yeah, we have the digital copy, the hard copy magazine. They're shipping out today, tomorrow. And then we have that in-season product we talked about, Pick6 Plus, where every Tuesday morning you get that email in your inbox, all the stats refreshed, all the projections of the games coming up. All in one place too, which I think is crucial because we're all scrambling all over the internet trying to find everything. Here it is in one succinct spot, all the relevant stats and info that you'd like. So it's only on pick6previews.com. Go check it out. And thanks for having me on. Another preseason here. It was great last year. Hopefully the picks are as good this year.
Oh, I'm sure they will be. Make sure you guys check out Pick6 Previews, Pick6 Plus with Brett Ciancia. Brett, best of luck this season.
Thanks, Kiev. Appreciate it.